Everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Way through news, meteorologist Brian Good here on this Tuesday. It just looks like LA, doesn't it? Or Beijing. That haze is out there. Hence the air quality alerts for today. That poor air quality. You're heating things up. Yeah, I know. We got a spider web on the lens. I see that. But we got poor air quality. You know, those things. If you have asthma, COPD, emphysema, stay close to AC. Stay out of this mess today. The winds will pick up tomorrow, and that will help stir things up a bit. Few areas of high-level clouds passing through now. We'll have more later on, but the current batch moving off to the east, so it's creating a little more of that haze look outside. The temperature's already now crossing over that 70-degree mark. Humidity is increasing as well today. It's not as oppressive as it will be in the next couple of days, but it's getting there, so you will feel it for sure. It's certainly a little more prevalent back here to the west, and you combine that with a lot of wind energy, and of course you got the dry line riding through here. Front range of the Rockies, perfect setup for severe weather, and that is where the enhanced area severe weather is out for today. The cheering on the WKU Storm Chase team, they are out there now, getting ready for their first day, and they're going right into this mess. Let's hope they're safe, but they'll deal with that for the next few days. For us, it's going to take a while to get the wind energy into our area to produce anything a little more organized than your typical strong afternoon thunderstorms, and that's really what we're going to be facing until the end of the period here. Between now and then, tomorrow, the winds are relatively light today, hence the air quality issue. Tomorrow, we get a squeeze plate between our strong highs protecting us as of late and an approaching front from the west. The gradient between the two will begin to tighten up. The winds then increase. That'll stir things up enough to at least help out on the poor air quality. So our next chance of rain will actually be with that front that'll get close to us. It does not look to pass through, but it'll tease us on Thursday. Few thunderstorms possible on the radar in our Indiana counties and around sunrise Thursday, and then just your typical, it looks like a washout. It's because the model is having a tough time figuring out where to place a thunderstorm, and that's kind of a setup. It's going to be that way, though. It's going to be very, very random. Some of you, in fact, many of you, will get missed out from the thunderstorm potential here on Thursday. But if you get hit, I mean, you can get hit pretty good. Heavy rain, lightning, and then it'll fade out. They don't last long. Friday, very similar deal. The front's still in the area. So it looks like a washout here. It's not going to be. This could be this a randomness of thunderstorms that could be locally strong. Some of you will miss out on this. And then the front changes characteristics. It becomes a warm front as we get into Saturday. And that will push us close to record territory again, it looks like, on Saturday itself. Now, for the setup really Thursday, especially on Friday, when we look at the wind fields aloft, again, there's just not a lot to work with there. So organize severe weather because you need a tailpipe, as I always say, to allow these thunderstorms to go on for more than their typical 30 to 45 minute period of a normal lifespan. You need a tailpipe for that, and you don't have it here. So they have a limited ability to stay going for a while, but they have the trigger, and that is the instability is certainly there. In fact, we can look at the indices, and this kind of a deal, this is very much like an August setup here I'm looking at, but what I'm looking at, not only the lifted index, which is certainly telling me there's a lot of potential lift here for this atmosphere, it's got a lot to work with, but the downdraft cape is over 1,000. So there's potential for a few warnings to get issued for downdraft winds. You bet. That is certainly a possibility, perhaps some hail in some cases, but they don't last very long, but they can be sometimes more of a problem for us. We run into problems with trees being knocked down with these kind of things than we do with organized severe weather sometimes. So even though we may not be outlooked for severe weather when we get to Friday, and we're not at this point, it wouldn't surprise me that a few warnings could come out for just the intense amount of heat and moisture we have in the air, so just something we'll watch. Saturday, that warm front's still in the area, but I still think we have a chance to get into the 90-degree range on Saturday. Sunday's when the cold front, now the models have been slowing this down a bit. The Euro's the slowest of all of them, and waits till Monday to really get the rain out of here. GFS has been trending slower, but it still indicates a period of thunderstorms likely as we head into late Saturday night and certainly on Sunday. Wind energy during the day on Saturday turn north and west, so again, mainly a pop-up setup for thunderstorms for Saturday afternoon. So if you have plans Saturday, be aware of a few isolated thunderstorms, but the more organized stuff should be closer to the front, to the northwest of us. But then as we get into the nighttime hours into Sunday, our luck runs out, and we get into that mix of things. And then your instability is there too on Sunday for some energy added into that. In this case, if you saw there on the last graphic, the wind shear is to our north, the stronger wind shear, but the instability is more south. In these setups, you bet on the instability than the wind shear. So if there were to be an outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, they would likely draw it something like this versus up here to the north. So we'll watch it as we get closer in time. Not a big deal, but I'm sure by that point our lawns and gardens, all those flowers will be thirsty. They'll need it. So let's skip right ahead to the latest track here for the winter for next year. I know I haven't had a chance to post yet about last winter's event and what went wrong and what went right, basically, in either case. I will get to that post at some point over the summer. But just looking ahead, and this is, I know a lot of you are going to laugh, like, are you serious? After we went through this last winter, you really want to talk about this winter? But I know you winter fans are out there, you bots fans, so I get it. But just to kind of give you a snapshot of the Japanese model that came out recently, which does really well. It actually hinted at it being warmer than normal last year, pretty early on. One thing I'm looking at is the water temperature that came out, and when you look at the cooler water here in the Central Pacific, and then you got warmer water in Alaska, and you got warmer water off the Baja Peninsula. If you look at it, it's kind of like a horseshoe shape. This is what we call a Maduku El Nino, which we did not have one last year. Last time we did was a couple years ago, and we had one for about 2 or 3 winters in a row. We had a Maduku El Nino pattern. But it's got to be that horseshoe shape. Now, I will say that the water off the California coast is not as warm as I would like to see for a Maduku to really be impressive, but it's at least trending that way. That's something we'll watch, because that certainly seemed to play a factor in the winter, and the fact that we didn't have one at all last year certainly is an interesting signal. When you look at potential for precipitation, it is actually hinting at a drier than normal forecast for our area, for the Ohio Valley, wetter in the plains, and with El Nino being a factor this winter period, it of course is aiming toward California being increased, not surprisingly. But temperature-wise, it's going for colder than normal for the eastern half of the country, including us right here into town. And again, last time we even had El Nino factor like we have coming our way was a couple years back, and for about a 3-year stretch. So interesting signals that are reminiscent of a couple years ago, and nothing that I can find so far that lines up with last winter. So that's good. At least it's something different that we're seeing so far. Just how different, that's the key. Too early to get specific on that. Let's give it more time in the oven, as I say. I'll see you guys later.